On the 14th of November, 2016, this is the Jamaica Selectboard. The first shot on the agenda is to call for any additions to the agenda.
I don't know if it should be an addition or not. Taylor Smith said he would do our sidewalks again.
Oh, good for him. Yay, Taylor.
I don't know if that should be on the.
No. And I would like to point out, in case he's ever watching, that he did a good job last year. And for the rest of the kids in Jamaica, people who do good jobs get invited back. And we pay. Just a thought. Editorial, though that may sound.
Not much last year.
No, we're gonna work it out. You think that's what it's gonna be this year?
His
You're gonna
summer's
work
back
out.
on Friday.
Yeah.
I'd like to just update the transfer station.
Okay, I'll add that to us.
Okay.
I'd like to report on the Wind Solid Waste budget meeting last week.
Okay, hang on a second.
Big article, did you see that one?
I heard about it, I didn't see it.
And I have actually something I want to add too. We got a letter after I did the agenda on the Wyndham Regional Committee assessment
Oh, yes.
for the next year. And you said, what else do you want to do? I'm sorry, right.
Wyndham Solid Waste budget meeting. Just
okay.
report on it. Did discuss it.
Alright. Okay, so the three additions are the WRC Assessment, Transfer Station Update, and Wyndham Solid Waste Budget Meeting. Any other additions to the agenda? Failing that, we will do the timesheets and the select board orders at the end of the session as usual. Opening gamut this evening will be an update on the road crew
You
activities.
skipped approving the minutes.
I'm sorry?
You skipped approving the minutes of the last meeting.
Did I skip over something?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, number 2.
It's even on there. Oh my gosh. That's right. Thank you, ma'am. This is why we bring you here, you know. It's got nothing to do with taking us, it's got keeping me straight. So, let us approve the minutes of the October 24th Select Board meeting. They were, of course, forwarded to everybody electronically. Hopefully you've had a chance to look them over. I did. I could find, as hard as I tried, I didn't see that she made any errors at all here. But there may be some substantive ones that you guys made.
Move we approve the October 24th
Second.
minutes.
I have a second and a motion. Do I hear any other discussion? I hear none. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes of the October 24th Select Board meeting are approved.
I have a point of order.
Yes.
We didn't have any minutes for the October 17th Select Board meeting. Remember we had that special meeting on, for the districts?
I thought we did that last.
Yeah, you can approve,
Did
in
we
the
approve it?
24
Yeah.
minutes, there's the section.
Okay, then I stand corrected.
No, you said, but you're correct. Yeah, I think we did those. Yeah, if you look right here,
Did I?
we did it on
Okay.
the last meeting. The 26th and October 17th Select Board meeting.
Okay, I apologize.
Not a problem. I find that I'm corrected by her a lot. So it's good to have her around. So,
Give her a raise.
yeah, that's what we should do. We should give her a raise. We've had that selection, yeah, anyway.
Let's get on with the show.
I thought for sure that just being so associated with this august organization would be enough. Maybe not. So back to the road crew and Mr. Hazard, you are on, sir.
Do you want to shoot about the building?
I'll share that afterwards, yes.
All right. For us, we spent last week getting ready for winter, and now we're getting unready for winter. Everything changed course. Started grading again. Headed north. Started in East Jamaica. Stripping out the potholes. So on. Cleaned up the yard. Sort of it.
Worked in the transfer station.
Yeah, we got that going over the past month. That's picked up. But aside from that, we're on that in between. Put the chains on, take them off, put them on, take them off. But we're grading this week. So anyone north of the village will get a light scrape if it's called for.
Yeah, we got ours today.
Yeah, yep.
Turkey Mountain.
You two want to talk about this?
We got a couple things. First of all, Keith did mention that they were doing a lot of cleanup around the yard, which is good because that's in anticipation of starting the town garage project next year. Speaking of that, had a very interesting conversation on Friday with some people from Interwest,
Intervale.
Intervale, Intervale. What? Intervale. Whatever they're called. They're interested in our town garage if we would like to give it to them. And they're interested in using it for storing some of their equipment, their buses, a couple of their buses. And they stopped by last Friday to look at it with an engineer to see if how easily it would be to dismantle. And it seems like it's relatively straightforward, so that's something that we can consider in the future. We don't have to necessarily make a decision about that now, but we should think about it and decide if that's something. I think it would save us an awful lot of work trying to tear that thing down.
And money.
And money. The timing of it was kind of interesting because they were thinking of hiring a separate company to do it as opposed to them doing it themselves. If they were to do it themselves, they'd be smack in the middle of winter. We're talking about doing it around the middle of March, the end of March. So that's the discussions that we're having. We're going to check with, I think it's Mike Renaud, and see if they're interested in doing the work and how hard it will be. So I'll keep you informed. To that end, Keith has already started working on cleaning up the garage itself and getting rid of some of the stuff that we don't need anymore. Getting ready to pack it up for the trailers to move it down over to the old town garage while we're building a new one. So it's going along pretty well.
Very good, thank you. Was there some discussion about part-time help for the plowing?
Yeah, I spoke to a guy last week. Sounded like he's in. I just kind of needed to know.
Are we interested in having a fourth
Yeah,
person?
yeah. Again.
You definitely need one,
Yeah.
just in
And
case.
when there's a storm out there, 3 guys are stretched.
Yeah.
Thin. I think it's very-
It's important because he really takes care of the village, and the dump stays open, you know, down to the school, state park. Not that the park's open, but
Yeah.
just the core of the village, and he takes care of, you know, the hills that we don't get back to, where there's few residents. He gets back there quickly.
No, I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that,
Now, does he also, the third guy, if one of the guys can't make it? Is he
Yeah,
capable
I
of
mean, I
doing the
haven't
whole
spoke to that exactly, but I think that's the case, you know, especially given that it's probably a maximum of 20 hours a week, you know, for a storm and everything. I guess I'd have to ask Terry, but you can't work more than 30 hours a week before you get deducted for the retirement.
we should talk to Terry.
Right,
Give
there's
us
a,
specifics.
there's
I mean, is that just, I would think a one-time thing wouldn't
No,
require
there's,
that.
he'd be a part-time person, like we've
Yeah.
always done it for the last several years, so he wouldn't be eligible for any of the benefits that we offer. It's just a per diem type person.
Right, but I mean, if you were to work 40 hours because we had a bad.
That wouldn't put him in that position.
It wouldn't touch that.
No,
It's only if it's averaging.
Right.
right.
We should point out, this isn't a new concept of having somebody else to help. It's just a new person. Because the previous.
Right, we've always-
Right,
We've always
right.
had
It's the
that
same
person.
thing. It's
So
just
budget-wise, we're still budgeted for this.
new guy.
We're just changing faces.
Now, do we want to interview him, or do we just want him to give us an application and
You
fill
should
out?
get an application, but I think Keith has interviewed him. Keith has a background in.
And
I do too.
in-
yeah, I'm not gonna, I won't drop a name, but you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not an unknown commodity at this point.
and we can have them do an application.
So we're
Sure, we
comfortable.
should have that just for the record, for the paperwork, yeah. I think so. Do we need to make I think we're not spending any more money, all we're doing is changing faces.
Right, it's
So I don't
this
think we need any select board
No.
action.
Right, and I no.
Good, thank you.
Anything else, Keith?
Anything you need from us?
Am I authorized to like speak with this guy tomorrow and say this is,
Yes.
Mhm.
come up and see,
Or we can mail the application or whatever.
Pam and Terry and.
I said yes, the other members of the select board, any difficulties with this? Does it seem like a reasonable idea?
I don't know who he is, but I don't know if he
Can I,
has.
do I say it?
No, I don't know who he is yet, but the people who talk to him, I mean, we had members of the staff who know him pretty well. But we can certainly do that later, I don't wanna do it right now.
I guess we'll make sure that he wants to do it.
Yeah, let's check to
Make
make
sure
sure.
this is, that he does, he wants it,
You
he
know,
wants to do
make
it.
sure that he's all in.
Right, before you
Yes.
set a name, yeah.
Exactly. Get some of those questions answered, get the paperwork done, and then we'll know better.
And we can do the money portion of it here when he comes here.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else?
Anything else?
Anything we can do for you? Anything that we can ask our citizenry to do for you as you're getting ready for winter?
Nope.
We're all set with sand, we're all set with chains.
Yeah, there's more sand coming. I looking at the pile, 3,000 yards sounded good, and it usually is, but for whatever reason, I mean, last winter it wasn't much of a winter, but we went through more sand than anything. So I ordered another 1,000, so it doesn't come in the middle of the winter, because that's a pain. You get half snow and half sand,
Yeah.
you know, when you do it that way. That's happening, and everything else is pretty much ready to go.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Any other
Thank you,
questions for Keith? No? Good. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Next up,
I said good night.
next on the agenda is an item that we've talked about a couple of times over the past month or so. And this is the errors and omissions list from the grand list.
Right, we tabled it at the last meeting.
We did table last, and we requested a member of our lister staff to join us, and we have Barbara.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, for the camera, Barbara
Ferguson.
Ferguson. Can you spell it? You know her spelling?
Yeah.
Oh, press on.
I've put revisions to the list in, and they're in red as to what the reason was why each parcel was added to the errors and omission. And I think you all have a copy of that?
It's the second page.
I had a copy, but.
It's right here.
We have a
It's
copy.
right here.
I
It's
kept
on the
it
right hand
as a
It's on the left-hand side.
monthly listers report, and then the second page.
It's on the
is
left-hand side of your folder. It says monthly.
Monthly list.
Yeah, the next page, the next page.
And then the next page
Okay.
is this stuff.
Gotcha.
And as you look through that, I don't know if you need me to elaborate on that anymore, or if that's.
By the way, thank you for this report.
Isn't that nice? I like that.
It helps us to know what's going on.
I think that's a monthly thing.
I love that. Yeah, I vote yes for that. Yeah. Looks good when you've had a busy month, you start slacking off when you don't notice.
Well, it also helps us stay a little more focused, I think.
I think so too.
I don't know if did anyone have any questions on the adjustments that we had to make?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what they are, so I want to go over those one by one. if we
Okay.
could.
Jones parcel, it was a new purchase this year, and several, they comprised of several different parcels. And when he got his tax bill, in the display field, it only showed 3.5 acres. That's because he has several different parcels, and the inactive parcels didn't get added together and show on the display field.
That increases tax bill?
And yeah, he got an adjusted tax bill. Number two, the cement plant is the solar array. And we had, because it's a unique parcel, because the solar arrays are kind of taxed a little differently, we didn't apply the special exemption. And then we went back and forth about the exemption applies to the equipment. It does not apply to the land. He is still taxed on, they are still taxed on the land for the education. And we went back and forth and had to do some adjustments with that, make sure it was applied correctly.
So what is that number? Is that what they're going to pay or what they don't pay? Or
That's what they're taxed on, that, well, that's the value, and then the education tax is applied to the value on the land, not on the land and equipment that's there, or like land and buildings.
Did the state calculate the?
Yeah, we had to calculate
They
it
use
several
that as a
times to
formula?
make sure, yeah, it's just awkward because it's so new. And it took a little time to go through it, and most solar arrays don't own the land, they just,
rent it or whatever?
right, and so that's not a concern, so that's why we had to go back and forth several times to get it correct. And Stanley received a change of appraisal notice, and for some reason, the value didn't transfer from the notice correctly to the didn't transfer between the software programs to calculate his bill at the new corrected adjustment. So that took a little while to get straightened out. The next one was incorrect acreage. He was being taxed on incorrect acreage, and we had to adjust that and do some research through the deed and make that change. The next three were subdivisions, and the value of the new division needed to be assigned. And that I stumbled with just knowing how to do it and putting it in. I thought it would transfer between the software programs, and it didn't.
I just want to get a clarification what the word subdivision means, because in my mind it means something different, I think.
Yeah.
Subdivision to me kind of says you're taking a bunch of different properties, putting houses on it, and putting a subdivision.
Well, in this context, it's one parcel gets divided into more,
And so it's become raw land.
not necessarily. It's one parcel now is split into two parcels. And
So
you have to
if
create a new parcel number for the, this new entity, parcel entity.
So if a parent splits their land up to have their son or daughter live on that, that's exactly what you're talking about. They own that new parcel.
If they choose to give them a portion of the land
Right.
and subdivide, yeah. And it was a software thing too, I didn't understand how to assign the value correctly, so that had to be changed. And the last one was a new current use application, and that was being under review when the grant list was printed, so we had to correct that and make that after the grant list was out.
Thank you.
Just looking at your ongoing business, so you now have 2 listed positions open?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, weeks ago.
Yeah, we've got a letter, his letter of resignation.
So we have to post that. We've had one posted for a while, but we
Yep.
do need to post one.
Now that we have the letter, we can go ahead and move forward and post it.
Does NEMC plan on continuing after they finish Rossingville or waiting until next spring?
They're doing some of the work in background work, database maintenance and tidying that up. But they won't be out in the field probably until spring. And although we are collecting a list of names of people who would like to have their, like to have an interior, have them back and doing an interior review. So we're just trying to coordinate with them to get a date so we can satisfy those. But they're pretty much done for the winter.
Any more questions for Barb? Either on her report or on the errors and omissions? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept the errors and omissions change on the 2016 grand list.
Make a motion?
Seconded.
I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, passes. Thank you for your work on this. Thank you for
Thanks,
attending.
Barb.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I guess, while it's already come up, we've received, I apologize, I got something growing in my chest. We got a letter from Peter Andrews, dated the 6th of November, saying that he's now back working in North Carolina for a month or two. I feel this is the time to resign from the Board of Listers. I appreciate the opportunity you've given me to help for 5 months, the town I care about. We should note that Peter stepped in to help out
Right, who's done that?
we had a real strain going on, and so we knew he wasn't going to be able to be long at the job, but we certainly thank him and certainly appreciate the work he's done.
Yeah, it was great because he knew a lot,
Yeah.
his previous experience and just his personal interest in it really was helpful.
He brought a lot
To the
to
table.
the game. Yes, he did. So we'll be writing a thank you letter to him. But that brings up Lex's point that we now need to list 2 positions for the
Here
list.
you go again.
So we will
We need to post
we
them.
can get that tomorrow. Get on board on that. Very good. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Let's see. And Peter was the that was number 9, so we just jumped to that. The approval for plans for the new garage. Lexa, did you want to talk to that?
Sure, you and I, both of us.
Okay.
We had, our last meeting was, I think with the exact date,
Almost 2 weeks ago.
about 2 weeks ago. We had the final plans from Cotton Design and went over that, and everything seems to be in order, and the plans are locked up in the vault. Pam could open the vault. If you want to look at them now, I should have brought them out, but I forgot, it was really late. We can look at them now if you want to, but we'd like your approval for the plans. But if you'd like to
should
look,
look at them if we're going to vote on something.
if you'd like to look at them,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then assuming that they get approved, we'd like then the authorization to go out to an RFP to put the plans out to bid. Did Terry get a chance to finish that?
Not yet, she was working on it. Tomorrow we're going to finish it.
Okay.
While we're waiting for that, let me jump to number 11. This will be pretty quick and dirty. That's the report from the fire department. For everyone's understanding, we have for the total year of 2015, we had 128 calls. We are at 128 now.
That's fire and
That's the
rescue.
fire and rescue calls in the fire department.
More rescue than fire.
Well,
Thank
you
God.
guys are racing. Having said that, it is true. We've had some serious calls. Generally, I put a pitch to make sure that
Thank you for
your
this.
house numbers are available so the fire department can find you. is always a good thing. If you want us there, we should be able to find you. There's another factor that's popped up the last couple of calls I've been on. If your numbers are visible clearly and not unobstructed, it helps other people know where to send us when they're calling in a problem at your residence. So it's not just finding you, it also has to do with the people, someone who's calling in, if your house is vacant, they're calling in where it is, they don't know your house number, so it'd be good to have those things available. Other than that, looks like the plans have arrived.
We're gonna try to see if we can hook them up. I should have been more prepared. I apologize, I'm sorry.
Do you want to do this another time? No?
No, we can do it today.
So we're trying to stick it to that bulletin board?
Yeah, see if we can do it to that bulletin board. I think it'll be-
Can I help you?
Well, some of the sheets are not important.
Right, I think just this one
There's
here.
only a couple of sheets that are gonna help you.
Yeah, Lou, double check the sheets.
Yep, overview plans.
Yeah, we've got elevation somewhere.
So that's what we do, my new show.
Obviously, no one looks at this stuff because it was hidden behind something. I don't know.
It's an emergency.
It's a bulletin board.
You just put it over the top of it.
Yeah. But it's gonna have
Of course, I'm
to drive
just
me
gonna,
insane.
for visual, visibility, this.
This will be the,
The elevation.
what's the elevation? And this is,
I think this is enough.
those two? Yeah, if people want to come
This is just the way
in,
the concrete floor we do that.
right, if they want to come in and look at all that foundation stuff, you're more than welcome to do that.
That's close.
Yeah?
Sure.
We want to put that underneath it.
The roof,
Inside, outside?
cross sections of everything, all sections.
You want us to try to put on a tripod, just for the good way?
It's a concrete deal. Very important. Yeah, for them it is. And it's so in there. Lou, why don't you handle that?
Hand this out. There you go. How's that for lighting for your tent? Okay?
Lou, you want to do that?
Oh, you want me to explain?
Yeah, you explain.
Sure.
Yep. I like it.
There are two sheets here. The top sheet, just the floor plan. It is, as you can see, it's pretty simple. It's basically a rectangle.
I'm gonna come around the other side, because
Sure.
I can't see because you're pointing.
The garage itself is just basically a rectangle. These are the doors, the front doors, 6 bays. There are 2 center posts that will hold up well, it's actually the ceiling. There are,
4 doors to 6 doors, yeah.
6 doors, yeah. And one of the things that's different about this garage than most of the garages we looked at is the offices are on the outside of the building. And the reason for that is because when you put them on the inside, it's much more expensive. So by putting them on the outside, we can keep the ceilings lower, make it cheaper to heat, and we don't take away from any of the floor space that's in here. The plan is back here to have a depressed area a couple of inches lower than the cement, and store oils, hydraulic fluids, things like that, so that if they do happen to get out of their leaking from their drums, the leak doesn't spread around the whole floor, but the leak gets contained in here. And then back here we've asked them to put some workbenches so that they can put their tools and
How big are those drums?
the drums.
Big old drums.
Generally, they're 55-gallon drums.
Is there a ramp that brings stuff down there?
There is no ramp. We looked at that, and it's just a 2-inch lip So you're just gonna drop it down, if you're pushing it with a dolly, it will just go down with we looked at the ramp, but that was gonna take up too much floor space to get the slope, so we decided not to. There's another set of plans over here, if you wanna look at it, on how the actual water that might collect in the building will get, there's gonna be an exhaust, an area where water will collect with, it's gonna have an oil separator, so oil that might get mixed in with the water that comes off of the plows and the like will go into a drain and get exhausted to an oil separator. The way it will look like from the outside, from the front, it would look like this with the six bays. From the side, it's got like a shed roof. The roof itself will be based on rafters. I think the rafters are spaced 2 feet apart, if I recall. And you can see, looking at it from the back and the front, this is the office area, how it's a lot smaller as far as height and the like.
And they can keep the heating different temperatures, you
Correct.
know.
The office and bathroom will be,
Separate zone.
separate heating zones.
Yeah, what are those rooms? Could you point those out?
This one here is office break room. Some town garages have an office and they have a break room. We only have 3 employees. Keith, generally, if he's talking to somebody else, either can send the guys out of the room, or if he's talking to one of the guys, the need for a separate office and break room wasn't there. So we decided to combine them into one.
Almost the way it is now.
Kind of like the way, well, if you call that a break room.
Yeah, right.
And there's a bathroom here. The bathroom has to be handicap accessible. Like for example, one of the things that we have to do is we cannot have a sink with a lab underneath it. It's got to be open underneath it so a handicapped person can get their wheelchair in. So it'll all be handicap accessible. There is no shower. We debated that and decided that if the guys need a shower, they can go home and take their shower. I think there'll be something on the outside for emergency eye issues.
Yeah.
There is.
But we decided not to put a shower in. This room here is a mechanical room for the furnace, electric panel, and we talked about putting the air compressor in there, but decided we couldn't because the air compressor needs air. And if you have that room closed off, there's no ability to exchange air. We were hoping to put the air compressor in there. We can't. We're going to put the air compressor in the corner. The air compressor is going to have a pipe that runs along the back wall, so that it's going to have separate outlets for the air. So that all you're going to do is attach a hose to that outlet. You don't have to go all the way. You don't have to run a hose from here all the way back to the air compressor. You just run the hose from here. And I think there's also one on one of these pipes. I don't remember that for sure. One of those
And
posts.
the heat in the big bay,
The heat in the big bay is going to be radiant heat.
in the floor?
In the floor, radiant heat in the floor. The ceiling is 14 feet high. It's not going to be like this where you have this high ceiling. The ceiling itself is going to be about 14 feet high to try to keep the heat down. And then above that, it'll all be open. Above there are some doors here for one of them is for access. I think the other one is for exchange of air.
Here, the exhaust, right? The exhaust
Right,
system.
exchange of air. There'll be a carbon monoxide detector in there, and if it detects too high level of carbon monoxide, it triggers the ventilation system, and it will exhaust that carbon monoxide. I think there's also something in there for humidity.
There is.
There's a humidity indicator thing in there.
The open space up in the roof
This area
line,
here?
is that for storage?
No,
So
Nope.
it's totally empty?
totally empty. There's not even any access to that. Inside, the only access to it is from this door here, one of these windows. And that's the only reason for access is to go in and inspect it periodically to make sure we don't have any leaks or anything like that. But there's no attempt to use that space at all.
Is it because it's all trusses? There's no, I mean, if going forward they needed attic storage or something, it's not.
With the trusses, there are all these
Yeah.
braces and everything.
Of course, what kind of roof are we getting?
A shingle roof, asphalt shingle.
Okay.
They call it a 50-year warranty.
Right. My thinking was if there was a fire that got up into there, and if it's a metal roof, that could be a problem, but if it's a shingle roof, we can go through that.
Yeah, it's a shingle roof.
Yeah.
And they're doing something with zinc. I don't know what that is, but it somehow the zinc collects something or other, some kind of
Right, you did talk about.
metal.
And I
And
noticed the
that's
top,
what makes the shingles last longer,
Oh, okay.
something like that. Beyond my engineering knowledge. Joel might remember that. Do you remember that, Joel? No. These are just vents. This
So
is
that's
the
what-
actual exhaust vent for the carbon monoxide.
So you've got windows, you've got those two windows on both sides, both ends?
Up here?
Yeah, and the other side as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
and this is this is for the carbon monoxide,
okay.
and then I think there are 4 of those. You notice these have to be lower because they have to be below the height of the ceiling.
Right.
The ceiling is just about where that ridge is.
Do the doors open and close by a remote, for example, the way a car
Yes.
enters the
yeah, it would have
garage?
to be because
Yes.
it would never lift it up there.
Right.
These doors are the R factors are 18, and which is pretty big. And the important thing about that is to keep the doors with a nice gasket around it, so as it comes down, it seals it. These doors are 14 feet wide. Be nice to have a 16-foot wide door, but the cost of that was gonna add too much to the cost of the building. 14-foot doors with the wing on the side, just barely enough room to get in. And getting out, you gotta make sure you don't catch that wing on the support. So we decided to go with a 14-foot door.
And there's enough room inside for the guys to work on the trucks without being all
Right.
together.
How much bigger is this than what's there now?
Probably double the size,
Oh, excellent.
at least double.
Oh, good.
I don't know how the actual square footage nets out, but it's, the other one will barely fit 3 trucks in. And when you put them in, they're so tight to each other, you can't walk
open it.
around.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
When the plows are on. When the plows are off, it's a different story, but when the plows are
And
on,
that's still tight too.
yeah.
Where would a truck be washed?
Probably outdoors, there's I think it's right here, there's an outdoor,
So not indoors?
no, spigot. They'll work on the trucks indoors, but they won't be washing them.
And that's what we do with the fire department too. We
Is that what you
wash-
do?
Yeah, we take them outside and wash them.
So let me understand something, Lou. There's an interior ceiling, so that there's like a crawl space in the, there's an attic crawl space?
Correct.
And how high how tall are those doors?
These doors,
Yeah,
I think they're 14-foot doors, or maybe they're 12-foot doors with a 14-foot.
so the ceiling is what, 16,
I
18
think
feet?
the ceiling is 14 is my recollection. Does it say that?
Let's see here. This is
The 14-foot door and ceiling 14 feet?
No, I think that's right, I think it's a 12-foot door, but I don't remember. It might be 14 and 16, I don't remember. Whatever it is, it's about a 2-foot space.
So those two windows, those windows are in the crawl space, in the attic?
14 by
These
14.
two right here,
Yeah.
they're really vents. But you're really,
But you can get in there into
you
the
can
attic?
get into the vent, through the vent into the attic, correct.
14 by 14, does that sound right?
The door, okay, then I guess it must be 16-foot high ceilings.
I think they are 16 foot high ceilings.
And that's the only access to the interior of the attic?
Correct. We did not want to put a crawl space into the ceiling because, number one, it's hard to get to, you have a ladder to get to it. And number two is, then it creates, a gap for insulation purposes. It's hard to keep. So since there's no need to get up there, except to inspect it periodically, we decided not to do it.
So where would you put the plows in the summertime?
I suspect that they leave them outdoors like they do now. Otherwise, like, if you were to leave them against the back wall is all workbenches. So I never thought about asking Keith about that, but I suspect they'd be outdoors.
8 by 12. That's the front of the building, 8 by 12, right? 8-12.
It was an 8-pitch, it's
An
an
8
8-pitch.
pitch, yeah. And
It's a 5-pitch on the back.
what kind of accommodations have you thought about in terms of snow removal?
Well, first of all, it's a 4-foot overhang, and then you would just take your plow and run it right along the front. That's how they would do it.
Okay.
That's kind of how they do it up at the transfer station too. They run the plow really
Right.
close.
This does stick out a little bit, you gotta be careful you wouldn't hit that, so you
All
have
the
to
plows
stay.
are inside, how do you do that?
No, but when they wanna plow that, they just drive out. I mean, those trucks can
Go through everything.
can go through 8 inches of snow without any trouble. And I hope they haven't let it collect too much before they start plowing.
The front of the building faces south.
Correct.
No,
Yeah,
front of the building, I think, face east.
kind of like that.
Yeah, because our road, for example, is a east-west road,
Right.
even though Route 30 is a north-south road.
Right, it goes at an angle a
Right.
little bit.
So they're
So the front of the building faces eastward,
kind of eastward, yeah.
southeast.
East.
I'm just thinking, how that sun is gonna hit on.
Although if you look at
snow
this, it looks like
and
it says it's facing north, but I can't believe that that's true.
No, it's
I think north is this way,
Well, if that's facing north, then the front of the building south.
if that's the case, but I don't think that's correct. I'll have to ask
The
them.
back is north and the front is.
How much did you pay this architect?
I'm not, I'm picturing the thing.
You
and I-
can't.
I mean, I could be totally off, I could be wrong, but
The back is gonna be the way it is now. It's basically the way,
Yeah.
it's the way it's setting
The
now.
floor is
It's
the
just a
same way
bigger
it is
building. Just the same way it's setting now, but just a bigger building.
the old building would be somewhere like in here.
Right.
Maybe now's the time for me to ask my question.
Okay?
I understand you're gonna be pegging out sometime this week, you're gonna be staking out the location.
I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. We haven't decided when our,
Our site visit.
Our
no,
site
because
visit's
We have
gonna
to
be-
do our RFP and then the site visit, and maybe end of November.
probably, yeah.
Well, Bob Stone told me he thought it was gonna be the 16th or something.
Well, we originally talked about the 16th, but we aren't ready for that.
Right, because we have to get the RFP out, and we won't have it out.
So what's the site visit? Who was making the visit?
Anybody who wants to bid on the project can come out and look at the site. That's what the site is. That'll probably be toward the end of November.
Right. And there's all these plans, the electrical, plumbing, the cement, the steel. If anybody wants to look at them, they can come in during the office hours. And we can't remove them from the building, but you can certainly come and take a look at them anytime you want.
Let me just ask two questions,
Sure.
if I may. If I'm not out of order.
No, you can.
The well where you're gonna store the oil, is there facilities for a sump pump in there or something?
I didn't ask him, if there's a sump pump in there or not. I don't know how all that works. That I don't know. I don't see.
And the drainage system in the main garage?
Well, I suspect that the separator will be over here someplace, but I don't know. It could be over here. In fact, it'd probably be more likely over here because he did tell me that the water that comes in after it's been separated from the oil goes into the leach field. So, or goes into the septic system.
With the hazardous waste, which is what you're talking about, who makes a determination that the plans that have been made are correct?
Well, that's the funny thing about Vermont, about Jamaica, since we don't have any zoning, we don't have anybody.
A&R doesn't come in on that?
No. The only permit we have to have is a flood, no, not a flood, flood zone permit.
Yeah.
But they aren't looking at it from the standpoint of, is everything, is everything, architectural or engineering sound? They don't look at that. All they look at is Is it above the base flood elevation? If it's not, how do you deal with it? Things like that. So they don't have any say. The only thing that the state does is the septic permit, which has already been designed.
And approved, yeah.
It's on, I think it's
It's
been
been
recorded.
It's been recorded, hasn't it? Mhm.
Very good.
Be that as it may, then we'd like to
Any other questions?
ask for your approval.
They certainly look thorough, except of course we're not sure which way is up.
Ways north.
Well, it's,
I'll have to take my compass out.
Check it out.
we'll have to take,
Yeah.
we're gonna give Joel that job.
Yeah, Joel,
Take a compass
got a
and go over
compass.
there.
you're volunteering,
I'll
Joel.
go out and turn my car on, I'll tell you which way it's facing.
Yeah, I can do that.
That'd be easy to say.
Okay.
All right.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's basically the way it is now, it's just,
That would be a bummer if it's facing into the woods.
Well,
it's not.
I'm pretty sure the road is back there, the river's down here, and anything else is smooth. Excellent, thank you. So what we need to do as a select board is authorize the preparation of the RFP.
It's being prepared now, just have to authorize it to be
Authorize publishing of
published.
this
Right.
soon-to-be-done RFP. So I
Do we
would,
need to approve these plans as a board?
I think, it's up to us.
I mean, if you want
If
to.
we authorize the RFP, I guess we've tacitly approved it.
tacitly approve, yes, yeah.
We can do two, I mean,
We can do that pretty
I
easily.
think
I
it's
guess
worthwhile to do both.
my thought was that we gave a charter of the committee to do that part. I don't want to
Yeah, well,
overstep.
they've already looked at it, and they're recommending it to the board.
So you as a committee member recommending that we accept these.
Mhm.
So therefore, that sounds like a motion in progress.
All right, and I move that we accept the plans and authorize the publishing of the RFP.
So we'll do it all as one motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy.
Sure.
Second.
I have a second, I have a motion. Any other further discussion?
Yeah, I do. Just a question.
Sure.
Are the plans coming in on the number, the cost that
We don't know
have?
yet because we don't have the RFP.
You don't have
We have to, we have, the contractors will get the plans and
Okay,
then they will give us the number.
okay, do we have a ceiling of what we are willing to spend?
Well, certainly we don't have a hard ceiling, I mean, it's up to us, but I think when the RFP comes out, if it turns out that it's higher than we expect, then we'll have to make some decisions. Either we have to shrink the size of the building, or we have to figure out another way to fund it.
But
We know we have $750,000 bonded,
Okay, so that essentially is our ceiling.
essentially.
To the extent that that includes all the other factors such as the ground
Right.
and all the other stuff.
Right.
Right.
Because, you know, if they come back with, oh, this is gonna cost at least $1.5 million or something like that.
Then obviously we would
well,
rethink it.
We have to go back to the drawing board, I mean.
This vote that's on the table right now is essentially
well, that's-
giving the town permission to go ahead and ask how much it's gonna cost.
Right,
Right.
So that's what we're about right
right,
now.
the plans don't tell us how much.
But
it's
the
gonna cost.
architects had an idea of what a building like that
Right.
has cost in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, I wondered that, that's why I was wondering if we
And
had
it's under
that
that.
ceiling.
Right.
It's under that price, for sure. I think it was, I don't remember what the number was, 700,000?
695,
690, something like that, yeah.
Uh-huh,
So anyway, to your question, the answer won't come until we get the RFPs.
Right,
right. But at least we have some kind of an idea of what we think
Yeah.
it might be.
right, and that was brought up.
And
We
the
were doing
architects
the
do that
bond
when
and
they're
stuff
doing
like
it.
that, all that was brought up.
Is the architect going to be involved in the building process?
Yes, well, to an extent.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be clerk of the works, but
No.
he will be checking to make sure that
If we have any questions,
that it's being built to spec.
And that's part of his fee.
I don't know, I have to look at the contract again, but we may wanna hire a clerk of the works or
Yeah.
something like that,
They, actually, we were told that that's the best way to go,
right?
is to have that.
And does the architect have errors in omission policy?
I don't know. Never,
I can check that out.
we have to look at the contract.
That's a good question.
I think what will happen is we'll see what this comes in at, and then we'll decide how to, whether we wanna have we can afford to have a clerk of the works.
Right, we have to see how much they're gonna charge too.
Right.
You know, I mean, people are gonna do it for nothing.
Right.
You could do it.
No. I get in enough trouble.
What about what he's saying around in Arrow?
We have
I'm
to, we
sure the
have to check
contract
with
addresses that, I'm
our
sorry.
Yeah, well,
Design.
does that need to be done before we vote?
no. I don't think so.
What do you think?
I don't think so.
What do you think?
I mean, we can start all over. again.
Well,
You know, we can
I'll
just
accept
start
the
all
fact
over.
that he screwed up in terms of the direction.
He may not have, that may just be me.
But,
You know, I'm looking at that and I'm picturing it, I'm not sure that's wrong, I think north is.
Well, no, actually, the way he put it is, this is a building designed to go on a footprint a certain size. It's up to you, town, where you want to put it. If we
Right.
want to put it over here, we put it over here. If we want to put it over here, we put it over here. That's all with what Beck Engineering is doing. Beck Engineering's design shows where that footprint will sit on the
on the
parcel.
floodplain.
On the parcel.
Nice.
So, you know, that may just be something generic, because as I said, he doesn't care where on the site you put it. That's what Beck Engineering is.
Yeah, so this actually isn't a site plan, it's a structure plan for a
Right.
site to be determined.
That's right, Beck Engineering does the site plan.
I got you, makes sense. Does that answer your question? All right, hearing any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The plans are accepted and permission for the RFP to go forward is granted. Good on that first thing. Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. And ma'am.
You're welcome.
Here's, okay, so the next thing we have on our list, we've been jumping around a little bit. I've got Lou in to discuss the contract and the participation in the solar project as number 10.
Okay. I don't know how we want to proceed. I did have a discussion with our attorney today, so I don't know if you want me to start there.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
Our attorney's name is?
Well, Paul Gillies is our attorney, but Paul deferred it to his partner, Jerry Tarrant.
Yes, Garrett, correct, yeah.
So it was he that I had a discussion with. He had two reservations regarding the actual contract and two other things he wanted us to consider. So let me start with the reservations in the contract. I wanted to start by saying that in general, this contract is been offered. It's not something that every town can negotiate with the, we have 12 different towns all signing on to this agreement, and then 10 different school boards and 3 different colleges and the Brattleboro Retreat and the Housing Authority. All these groups are part of this, potentially part of this net metering deal. The idea, they didn't want to negotiate the contract with every different entity. They wanted to negotiate it with once, and then either you sign on or you don't. Now, there are a couple things that we might be able to get them to change, but in general, that's the philosophy. The philosophy is either you take it or you don't.
Right.
So anyways, given that, the two things that he was concerned about was, I think it's section 12. If you jump to section 12, it's called hold harmless. And it says here in section 12, to the extent permitted by law, each party will hold, indemnify, defend, and harmless the other party and its affiliates. He felt that that was a two-way hold harmless, and he felt that it ought to be a one-way hold harmless. That the project should hold the town harmless. And the reason for that, he said, is because the town has no ability to control anything in the project. The town doesn't control the financing, the town doesn't control the construction. How can the town be anything but held harmless if it didn't have anything to do with it? And he's talking about if somebody, for example, a fire department comes in and tries to fight a fire and they get hurt and they sue the project, something like that. It's basically holding them harmless for personal injury and property damage. So therefore, I haven't had a chance to talk to the attorney on the other side on the Sky Solar, but I'll ask them about that, see if that's something that that they're willing to change. Chances are they will not. And I asked actually two different lawyers, but I'll get to that in a minute. And the other lawyer, which is Ethan McLaughlin, who was the one that actually created the contract or negotiated the contract for the district with the developer. He didn't feel that was a real big issue because it does say each party. Our lawyer was a concern because he said if anybody gets hurt, they're going to look for anybody who can who's part of the contract, and that could be an off-taker. But anyways, I'll discuss that with the attorney for Sky Solar. I don't think he's going to be willing to change that, but I'll find out. The other thing, though, I think that we should find out the reason why is, I think it's in section 14, under dispute resolution. He was concerned that the arbitration will be conducted in the state of New Jersey. The state of New Jersey is the home state of the developer, Sky Solar. And it refers, there's something else, I think in Article 15, which states that it's based on Vermont law. So his question was, if it's based on Vermont law, why hire a New Jersey arbitrator who doesn't know anything about Vermont law?
Right.
So I'm going to talk to the Sky attorney again about that. I suspect that unless he has a real good reason why it should be New Jersey, I think that's something that...
He had to, I believe, I could be wrong, but he'd have to be able to practice in Vermont. He'd have to have Vermont.
I would think.
Right.
I mean, so that's just something. See, what happened is, if you recall, this project was owned by a California company, and then it was taken over by this New Jersey company.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect that when they took it over, they changed this contract slightly to reflect their reality rather than California reality. So I suspect that might have been an oversight. But I'll find out.
But double check, because I think if they come here to Vermont, they'd have a Vermont license.
I'll find out. But anyways, those are the two contractual things that he was concerned about. Other than that, he thought the contract was fine. There were two non-contractual things that he was concerned about. One, I don't think it's a concern, but we're gonna on Friday there is a hearing with the Public Service Board to talk about the new rules. If you remember, I told you that this is based on what the rules called Net Metering 1, which expire at the end of December. I don't think Jerry quite understands what's happening with these new rules, but the new rules, if I'm correct in my understanding, they're going to be less attractive to off-takers. He was saying how the new rules are going to have different rules for if you're a landfill versus if you're a farmland versus if you're industrial land versus because they're trying to get solar to be put onto unproductive land, otherwise unproductive land, as opposed to productive land like farmland. And because how many times have you gone up Route 7 and see all this farmland with solar arrays on it? So they're offering less incentives to that kind of land and more incentives to the non-productive land. And he thought it'd be better for us to wait until Friday to see what these new rules are going to be like and to see. But I'm not sure that I mean, I think it's worth waiting, but I don't think that's going to net us anything. I think this is probably going to be a better deal than anything that would come out on the meeting too.
If we have to wait, will we lose on the first one?
No. My recommendation after I'm done talking about this is that we wait until the next meeting to decide, to get these questions answered. The other thing, though, that he was concerned about, and he called me back, but I had already left for a meeting in Brattleboro, the transportation committee. He was concerned about something called non-delegation doctrine. And that's based off of a decision back in 1988 called 151 VT 73. It was a company in Massachusetts that owned, that had a project. It wasn't solar, it was something else. But the court ruled that a municipality cannot enter into a contract which takes away control from the citizenship. That's why it's called the non-delegation doctrine, because you're delegating control to some other entity. So after talking to Jerry, and if that were really the case, then no municipality should enter into this agreement, if that's the case. So I called the lawyer the district hired for to negotiate this deal, and I asked him what he thought. And he said they actually, because if you remember, I told you he's the one that negotiated the contract, or he wrote the contract for VLCT, their model contract for net metering. So he's had a lot of experience in the net metering era. And he said that he and a few other lawyers, when they were working with this contract, did talk about this issue, this particular ruling a lot. And they came to the conclusion that it wasn't, that this particular project is different than the one that was done in that the 1988 ruling was about. But because it's different, they felt that municipalities could enter into an agreement like this. So what I asked our lawyer to do is to call him and to discuss it and to go over their points, and then have him again come back to us and tell us his conclusion based off of his discussion with Ethan. So he did call me back, as I said, but I wasn't home to take that call, so I'll call him tomorrow and find out more about that. What Ethan thought was that the rule that this contract is outside of that particular ruling, but he called it unsettled. And the reason it's unsettled is because nobody's tested it. And you know how the law is, lawyers all have different opinions about what the law is, and it's not until it gets tested as to whether it's actually true or not. But anyways, I thought that was the best way to do it, is to have our lawyer talk to him to see if he's convinced that that it is different. So anyways, my recommendation then would be that we wait for the next meeting. And we have, if you recall, till November 30th anyway, so I think we're okay.
The next meeting's the 28th, I think.
8th rather, sorry.
28th, so it doesn't give it a lot of time.
No, but
It does give time to resolve these questions.
if we decide to go ahead with it, we just sign it and it's done by the 30th. Now, the other thing is I wanted to answer your question. Some of you had questions. I wanted to answer them if I can. If I can't, I will go to the attorney.
Well, I think you kind of talked to us ahead of time.
Right, you kind of, I had answered the questions that I had,
Okay,
that I
good.
didn't ask, you know, that.
The most important thing are the terms solid, and I think the
Right.
terms are in there. Paul had asked a question about the 13.9 cents, or maybe it was you, the 13.9 cents. And that is that during the first part of the contract, we have the solar adder added to the what's it called, the housing rate, whatever that, it was 14.85 cents. But anyways, it's a 19-cent differential, so we in the first 10 years, we get the residential rate, it's called, plus the solar adder for the first 10 years, as long as the price of electricity doesn't go down, then we're gonna make at least a 27%, save at least a 27%. And then after the solar adder goes away, whatever the residential rate is, if it happened to even just stay level at 14.8, we're still about a penny per credit savings. So we would still save some money as well. And then if you recall, there's some language in here about if it goes underwater. I don't remember exactly where that language is. It goes below 13.9 cents. I read it in here once. But
Yeah, then it drops down to the.
it drops down to whatever the residential rate is.
Yeah.
So we can never be underwater. And actually, that's turned out to be a very important clause, because a couple of the school districts in Brattleboro area, the Southeast Central Supervisory Unions, he was not going to participate in the deal until he found out that you could never be underwater. And then once he found that out, then he said, this is a deal that we should do.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Let's go with the easiest one first. In the definitions that I read a couple of different times, keep referring to the solar adder. Now, exactly is the adder?
The solar adder is an incentive by Green Mountain Power.
Incentive for whom to do what?
It's an incentive for developers to be able to get off-takers to commit so that they would be willing to do solar projects.
So this adder really is supposed to be reducing our costs.
Increasing our savings is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Right,
I
now,
hear what you're saying.
in general, what happens is whatever the residential rate is,
Yeah.
we say that the difference between that and what we pay the developer is our savings.
Right.
Right now, the residential rate is 14.8 cents per kilowatt hour, and we're gonna be paying the developer 13.9. That's only a penny per kilowatt, or
Right, not
per
much.
credit. That's not a big incentive.
No.
Now, over time, since the 13.9 stays the same, over time, the difference will be much greater. So for the first 10 years, in order to incent people like us to be off-takers, they're giving us an additional 4.18 cents. That's an incentive for us to participate
Okay. And that's the one that drops off after 10 years.
after 10 years.
Okay, thank you. Question number 2. Under delivery of energy output to the utility, paragraph 2, section 200, page 3. Yes, it says, effective upon the commercial operation date and for the term, all of the electric energy produced by the facility, including the customer's energy output, will be delivered to the utility. Many places in here, it refers to the phrase customer's energy output. I understand that I don't understand. So, correct me if I'm really far off, but we're not putting energy out. The customer, is that not us?
It's a good point. I don't know
So
what
how
that
can
means.
we be making it out? I mean, how can we be putting it out? I don't understand that. And that's referred to a number of places. If you look, for example, in the definitions, on page 12, membership payment means the monthly payment made by customer, us, to company, them, as determined by multiplying the customer's energy output by 13.9 cents. What is
Isn't that
that?
just how much we use?
What?
That's how much
That's
energy
how
we
we
use.
use.
Well, it shouldn't be that.
But it says,
It shouldn't be that because we're buying credits, we're not buying energy.
and we're certainly not outputting any energy.
So I'm going to have to find out about that. Because it does seem like a dichotomy, doesn't
It
it?
seems odd.
Unless, I was thinking that it was the definition that Pam was saying, is that it's our use.
Yeah, but that's it.
But in theory,
Consumption is
we're not buying energy, we're buying credits.
Right.
Yeah, that's what this definition is.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you can check that out.
I will check that out.
Please do, and under the definition of net metering credits, net metering credits means this monetary value, this is on page 12, last paragraph, of the electrical production from the facility that is allocated to and realized by the customer's utility bill pursuant to the program. The monetary value of net metering credits is determined pursuant to Vermont law. It is the party's expectation that the net metering group will qualify as a pre-existing system under the net metering program adopted by the Vermont Public Service Board pursuant to its order on blah, 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 blah. Expectation, sir?
Well, again, the application has to go to the Vermont Public Service Board.
Yeah.
And so our expectation is that we will indeed qualify under these rules.
That's
But the Vermont Public Service Board will determine whether or not we do. And if it turns out that we don't, then these
The whole
deals,
thing is moved.
the whole thing is moved, they won't build the project.
Because I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, I don't see the bailout position. You know, if expectation fails and we do not qualify as a pre-existing system, I don't want to be committed to paying 13.9 cents to this company absent a return.
I suspect that if that were to happen, the district would not build the project, or not allow the project to be built.
All right.
With that in mind, I had some thoughts, just really within the last week, is that our new administration going into office in the state of Vermont is, from what I have been hearing, is not that keen on the solar systems. And I wonder if, if this whole thing is going to be new.
Well, fortunately, assuming that our expectations are correct, based on that. We're grandfathered into the Act 99, which is, expires at the end of this year. As long as we got our certificate of public good application in,
Before the new administration takes over?
actually before the end of the year, even before they take over, it has to be before the end of the year.
Okay. Because that may,
I don't know when the government takes over. When does it
I
take
think
over?
it's like the 6th, if
Of
I
December?
heard that correctly.
January?
Yeah.
No, it has nothing to do with the governor, it has something to do with Act 99. As long as we get it in, and it's about to be submitted, it's ready to be submitted, it's going through one last review of the lawyers. But the document is ready to go to the Public Service Board.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
How does this affect the individual homeowner, resident of Jamaica?
My understanding that it does not, is that not accurate?
Other than the fact that it should lower your taxes slightly.
Yeah, this is strictly a municipality kind of thing.
Right.
And ultimately, the taxpayer benefits by 20%. In theory.
20% of what?
Approximately 20% of our electric.
We save 27% of our.
Does that mean your budget will go down by that amount of money?
So I'm
20% of the portion of our electric bill compared to the overall.
It's
Sure.
about a $2,000 savings.
So your budget will be reduced by $2,000 next year or
If
whatever?
it works.
Possible.
And
It's our expectation.
It's only town.
Which of course will affect my taxes.
You can expect it.
About 2-3 cents.
This is the global concept of, we take serious the cost of running the town of Jamaica. And when there's an opportunity to save money for all citizens, all taxpayers, we go through a lot of trouble to check it out. And we're very reluctant to get involved with something that's gonna produce more problems than benefit. Luckily, we have Mr. Brusso, who seems to understand this stuff. And
Well, she got a lot on his plate.
he better, if he ever gets hit by a truck, we're in deep trouble.
It also, though, is in the ecological, that has a lot to do with the solar, instead of burning oil or whatever it is for electricity. So it's really both of those things.
And that can actually be quantified with what are called RECs. But
Oh, don't
I'll
start.
go into those.
I read that.
some other time.
Yes, you have a comment.
I do, I just have a question.
REX or
RECS,
WRC?
RECS, I think
Oh,
is
okay.
the
I have a question about the credits. And I was talking to Pam earlier, and she's involved in all this school business. And, okay, so if we got too many credits, we gotta sell them, or
Right.
we're not gonna get rid of any to any schools. Over 20 years, we can project, I can project that there's not gonna be as many schools around here. Now, what happens to them? I
Okay,
think this is, unless you already explained that, and I didn't get it. What happens to them if the school goes and they can't get rid of their credits?
okay, first
Then
of
we have
all,
less places to get rid of ours.
yeah, first of all, I found out that, that the town schools has actually signed a contract with, I think it's SunEd, whatever, Nexon or whatever, whoever is doing the New Fame project. I think that the town of Jamaica is on board with the New Fame project.
Oh, we are? I think I
From
sent
what
that
I
on
heard,
the agenda tomorrow night, we'll
Okay.
find out.
I talked
Because we
to,
were looking at this project.
yeah, actually, right, but if you, and you may want to talk to Laurie,
Okay,
because Laurie sent me an email last week,
okay.
and they finally found the contract.
Oh.
So she found the contract, and she told me the towns that are part of the contract,
And then
and
one
it's
of them.
Jamaica,
Okay.
town, I don't know what towns, Westboro, Wardsboro, Leland and Gray, Newbrook. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the company that you had signed a contract with went bankrupt.
Gotcha.
However, they're coming out of bankruptcy, and they've claimed that they're going to be ready to be able to build this project. So
Expectations.
They sound trustworthy.
they have to have, like us, like the district, they have to have their CPG application in by December 31st.
Okay,
We have no clue where they are in that process.
okay.
They haven't even submitted their 45-day letter. A 45-day letter means that before you submit your application, you have to tell them 45 days in advance that you're going to do it. So they haven't even submitted their 45-day
Letter of
letter.
intent.
So their 45-day letter must be submitted by tomorrow for them
There's
to,
not a lot of 45 days left between now and.
between now and the 30th. So there is the point is that for the moment, you can't commit to this project until you find out what's happened to that project.
Good to know.
So you're ahead of the game for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little confused with, so this company they were depending on getting rid of some credits to the schools who aren't gonna buy them from where we're
No.
getting them.
Okay, they aren't dependent upon that. What happened is, we at the district, before they produced, they allowed other places to participate in this project, we demanded that they go to our towns and our schools first.
Right.
And then after they go to our towns and our schools, then they can go to the rest of the rest of the world. They've got tons of other people that they're interested in.
That's what I was
Right.
alluding to.
Retreat, I would say.
Marlborough College is interested, Brattleboro Retreat is interested, Brattleboro Housing Authority is, and they have huge consumption. Brattleboro Housing Assumption could take 2 of the 5 megawatts, could take a third of the output.
So we could, if we get stuck with a field, we could get rid of any of those?
Any of those anybody in our group can take them.
Okay.
So if Brattleboro Housing Authority puts a new building up, they have another appetite for another, they could take some of ours.
So there's a possibility that we wouldn't get stuck with,
No, we don't
Correct.
want
we
to.
don't want to get stuck with credits that we can't use.
Correct, and that's why we only go to the 80%. That's why we don't go to our 100% of our electric use.
If a town in the 19 towns of Wyndham Solid Waste chooses not to enter into this contract, does that mean everybody is out of it,
No.
or it
No.
is an individual
Right.
case?
And there are some towns that can't because they've already committed to projects.
Uh-huh.
Putney has already committed to projects,
Mhm.
so they can't do it. Unfortunately, Whitingham, they want to do it real bad, but they can't because they don't deal with Green Mountain Power directly. They deal with some other, who buys their electricity from Green Mountain Power, but it's not direct, so they can't do it. So some of the towns aren't going to be able to do it. Others, like Dover, for example, they can't do it, they're committed to a project. Brattleboro can only commit a certain amount of their energy to a project because they're committed to other projects. Brattleboro High School is very interested.
All right, so I guess we're tabling this until you can get back to us next meeting.
Do you have any more questions before we continue?
Sorry, any further questions?
Just some, once again, talking to Pam, it's a 20-year commitment. And just a lot of things have changed with
Right.
technology.
Absolutely.
Once we're in to save $2,000
Right, but the question then becomes,
a year.
how much you're gonna save 10 years from now?
I know.
Is
maybe
it
a lot.
gonna be 2,100? But if it's, or 2,200? But if it's 2,200, then you've missed out on the opportunity of the previous X amount of years. So that's a roll of the dice.
It is.
It's kind of like when you pre-buy your fuel.
Or an insurance policy.
Hopefully it's not that bad.
Well, it does sound like there's a component in here, which is a subjective call, and that is, do we stick with what we know, or do we take a chance on the technology that is evolving underfoot? And that's a subjective
Wait till
call,
Lou comes back with all the
yeah,
information.
with more information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna see a better solar deal, and the reason for that is because Green Mountain Power has already maxed out on pretty much what they can take, or what they're required to take by law.
Right.
However, there are other things that could be out there, like anaerobic digestion is another big thing that's out there. So somebody may have a huge plant that they might say they're willing to sell us,
Yeah.
part of an anaerobic digestion project. There could be something out there, we don't know.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou.
Please talk to us again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll talk to the lawyers one more time.
Yeah.
Thanks for,
You
Thanks for the
probably
work.
have learned more than you really want to
There you
know.
go.
You know there was that much to learn. All right, so what we'll do is we'll put this tabled until the following. Now, the other items that we had really quickly were the added, I'll squeeze it in before the public concerns. We have a quick transfer station update for Judy.
Okay, our swap shop is almost ready to go. And I just want to say very quickly that this has been a real Jamaica project, and it's really great. For example, just to list the things, Matt Jenkins has done for free the bookshelves that are in there. Ray Valentine has done the sign, and Andy Coyne and Grace have painted it, and Keith and Richard and Donnie of the town garage, they have done a lot of the plowing and settling of everything, and Harry Robinson and Ray Valentine, they've built that wonderful ramp, and things are just really going. And even the guy who delivered the building lives in Jamaica. And of course, the person who owns the cottage shop is a Jamaican. So it really is a great project, and things are starting to come in, and I'm hoping that within a week, we're open for business.
We got our party.
So you have grand opening?
That's what I said.
Coffee and
He was more specific.
yeah.
We could, actually.
Is there gonna be a list of what can be?
A lot of
Yes,
balloons.
I have that already prepared, and I'll be posting them around town, and
Give it to Pam, she could put it on her email
that's
list.
right. Pam,
Oh, yeah,
can put it
that would
on.
be
That's
fun.
good, I will do that. So, yes,
Thank you.
so, thank you for everybody for their cooperation, so.
Good, thank you very much. I have one quick thing. We received a letter from the Wyndham Regional Commission from Chris Campbell, the executive director, alerting us to the fact that the 2018 fiscal year, the total assessment for the town will be $2,300. This is up from $1,933 in fiscal year 2017. This reflects a 20% increase in the per capita assessment rate of $1.88 per capita for fiscal year 2017 to $2.25 per capita
That's a big
for fiscal year 2018. The per capita rate is the same for all towns. So, he says he's trying to tie it, there's a whole explanation, the letter's available for you guys, but just give you a heads up. When we start our budgeting, which should be like soon, we should talk about that.
Yeah.
Be aware that Wyndham Regional is becoming more expensive. Having said that, I asked for and got 2 pages from him. I asked, well, maybe you could give us a sense of what you've done for us. And I got 2 pages of stuff reminding us the amount of work we've received from Wyndham Regional Commission. They have done a tremendous amount for this town, and the only payment we make is the annual assessment. So if anybody has any questions about what that money goes to, I'm not going to bore you with it right now, but there's certainly a lot.
Yeah, I'm sitting on the planning commission as I have over the years. They really have been a tremendous amount of help.
Yeah. They have stepped in where others feared to tread. So I'm very, very happy with what results we've got. But anyway, I've got that available if anybody wants to look it over. Then we have Mr. Russo is on camera again for the budget meeting of the Wyndham Solid Waste.
Yeah, if you recall, I told you we were gonna have our budget meeting on the 10th, last Thursday. We did, after a lot of debate, we had a vote, and the motion on the floor at the time of the vote was to continue with the existing operations of the MRF with a 20% surcharge to transfer station towns, which would net to a 6% decrease for non-transfer station towns. Now, what that meant was, if you recall, one of the options was to go to a grand list-based budget, and there were 2 or 3 different hybrid options. One of the one that people were favoring was the 75-25. The problem with that is that, if you remember, the grand list option is to charge the assessment based on the grand list. And of course, we know the towns that will be hit the most are the ones in the outlying, the ones that have transfer stations. The problem is that Dover, their assessment was going to go up from 16,000 to 31,000. You can see their assessment was going to double. Stratton's was gonna go from 3,000 to 18,000.
Ooh.
So they were looking at a 600% increase. Winhall, they had already decided to leave the district, but theirs was gonna go up a lot. I don't have that number in front of us. Ours was gonna go up about 10%. Wilmington's budget was gonna go from 27,000 to 33,000. What I thought was a little bit more fair than the grand list-based assessment. I thought a surcharge was a little bit more fair, because then you could put a surcharge on the towns that were out in the outlying areas, in essence recognizing the fact that there was it takes more time and money to come out and get our trash than it does to get Dummerston's or Newfane. So anyways, I thought that was a little bit more fair, so I proposed it, and they accepted it in their preliminary budget. So therefore, what that means is our assessment would go up from the projected, I'm saying projected, not what ours was last year, but our budget based on population would have been 14,900. With the 75-25, it would have gone up to 16,500. With the 20% surcharge, it will go up to 17,900. So we pay a little bit more with a 20% surcharge, but it's a little bit less, a lot less for some of the other outlying towns. So anyways, with that proposal, we had a vote. If you remember, Brattleboro gets 6 votes. Westminster gets 2, the rest of us get 1. The vote, I think, was 15-8 to close, to leave the existing ops open. The interesting thing about that vote is that Brattleboro, even though the select board told him to vote to close the MRF, he actually voted to keep the existing option. So basically, Brattleboro, it was the swing vote. If Brattleboro would have gone the other way, it would have been the other way. That's, again, only a recommendation. Now we put the budget out to the rest of the select boards for them to, again, to look at and to instruct their representatives on how they would like them to vote. I actually voted against this budget. And you might say, well, why did you vote that, since you were the one that proposed the 20%?
I wondered that when I read the article.
The reason I proposed the 20% was in case we didn't go with in case we went with the existing budget option, I wanted the 20%. But I didn't want to go with because it was actually cheaper for us to go with our no MRF option with us paying for the cost ourselves. It was actually cheaper for us to do that. So being the fact that it would have allowed us to go single stream, that was to me the difference, is we would be able to go single stream. Plus we'd be able to use a compactor instead of it would be a lot more convenient for our people to recycle.
Yeah.
So that was the reason I voted against this budget, but I actually voted for the 20% to be added on to it, because in case we didn't close the MRF, I wanted that as the option. So anyways, that's the way the vote went down.
So our cost will be 17.9,
Right. If this budget gets
and
approved.
it was
What was the last
12.5,
year?
I think about 12.5.
12.5.
But it was an error, they went down, if I read things correctly, they went down too far.
Right.
It should have been in around 14.
We shouldn't have. We should not have dropped it 11%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And I voted against that budget where it was dropped 11% as well, because I thought the figures that they were using for revenue were much too rosy, and it turned out that it was. Because they were anticipating revenue, if you recall,
Right.
from some non-transfer station towns, and that never materialized.
And then also prices in redemption of metal and things like that had reduced too.
It got even further.
So a lot of it's really hit the budget, the cost.
So, anyways, there will be another vote on December 6th, December 7th, no, December 8th. On December 6th, we have a hearing, a public hearing at 5 o'clock.
And our next meeting will be December the 12th.
Well, no, we have another one in November,
No, after that meeting.
after that, right.
Yeah.
So December 8th is the hearing?
December 8th is the final vote,
Oh,
and that
6th.
actually could be tabled if we wanted to as well. But December 6th is the public hearing at 5 o'clock. If the select board would like to write a letter to the district, that would be read into the record. But it's up to you whether you want to do that. But
Where is that hearing?
at the district in Brattleboro. I suspect the vote on the 8th will be very similar to this one. The big question is whether towns change their minds between the previous vote and this vote.
And it's only for one more year, at least.
Each of
that-
these budgets is for 1 year,
Yeah,
and then
right.
next year we'll make another
Right.
decision.
We go on that.
I should tell you that our plans are, and I hope that we can follow through on these, is to begin in January, to begin to get a big picture feeling for where the district wants to be in the future. Whether we really want to go into the composting arena, whether we really want to, oh, by the way, I should just tell you this as an aside. Next year, beginning in July, we have to start collecting compost in the transfer station. We must, that's part of the law. The district, in their wisdom, is applying for a grant to buy a container for all the transfer stations. And so, but there's a match, the town has to match, like it's an 80-20 match or something like that. But they're applying for a grant to purchase a approved, if you will, container for compost.
Bear proof.
The question then becomes, how do we get it to Brattleboro, either to the district or to Triple T? How do we get it there? We're gonna have to hire somebody to come and pick it up. But,
Swell. So,
what?
We're
we're,
worried about that then.
so what we are right now for tonight is waiting the decision.
Actually, that could be significant because that's $150 a trip. If Triple T comes out here and picks just us up,
Yeah.
it's $150 a trip. And you're not gonna leave compost around for 2 or 3 or 4
No.
weeks.
No.
So if that's $150 a week,
Yeah,
that's,
it's a big deal.
Can't you make a proper composting facility that actually composts it and then we can have, like, or would the volume be too much where we can
Winhall does
compost
that.
everybody's compost?
Winhall has their own composting facility.
Doesn't Wilmington?
No, theirs is sludge, theirs for the
Oh,
sewage.
okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, they have a sewage treatment
they-
plant.
But
But they,
they dole it out in the spring to.
Correct.
I don't
Right. it gets converted from a liquid to a solid, and then any resident who wants a truck full can come in a pickup truck and they'll load you up.
So there's not much we can do, really.
No, the state requires it.
Well, but to Pam's point, could we not have a facility where people could consider, citizens could come and pick up a truckload of compost?
Somebody's got to,
You can manage and
Gotta manage
You
it.
have to,
and you have to maintain a certain
To-
temperature.
To make it
Right.
turn into compost,
Right.
yes.
And you have to have enough of it, the pile has to be big enough to generate enough heat. If you don't, small piles don't generate the heat.
I guess.
I know Winhall has it way off too, in
What do they do
a
with the
separate area, huh?
What do they do with the bidders?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't know, but we
They might keep
certainly,
it in a fenced area, I don't know.
I think people would like to be able to go to the transfer station and get fresh compost right here in
Yeah,
town.
I
think it would
like
be worth
that.
looking
idea.
into.
I like the idea. I'm here because I like to represent those people who have gardens.
And the nice thing about that is it does the whole site. It
And it's
completes
really
the site.
exciting,
The
yeah.
problem is it does take, it takes a fair amount of effort
right.
to
Perhaps.
create compost.
Perhaps a small committee could be formed by you and the farmers of your ilk, would look to manage that on a volunteer
We could
basis.
find a spot.
If we found you a place to do that.
Well, if I could figure out how to keep the bears out, I would do it myself on my own property.
Right,
Yeah, there's the problem.
The real thing is to find a route, to have enough places along the road, like Jamaica, Wardsboro,
right.
Townsend, maybe 3 Mountain Inn, maybe
I'm sure they come
Four
to
Columns
pick
Inn,
it up.
a whole route along Route 30 where they can send a truck up, pick up
Right.
a number of different places every week. That's the key, is to set up a route. Triple T has a route that goes up Route 9 and into Dover. They haven't come this far.
All right, so this evening, we are going to do nothing about the budget until we hear back from you for the next, December meeting.
My expectation is I would probably vote the same way as I did the last time, unless you
Yeah.
don't want me to.
I can't picture us arguing with you.
I think Lou does think about the cost for the people, for the town.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he's not gonna go say, oh, you know,
My only fear, quite honestly,
very economical.
my only fear is that the Russians are gonna get to Lou. He's gonna start doing all
Gotta
kinds
hack my computer?
of computer, and we're gonna lose completely. I have one more thing that I wanna put on the, and I think it exactly led into what you just said. We need to start working on our budget. And I think Lex and I had talked a little bit about having the meetings on Tuesdays, if it's possible for you guys, and we could actually get started here fairly soon. What was the date we figured out?
29th, Tuesday the 29th.
Tuesday the 29th. And we could time it around 5 o'clock or something like that.
Really for you.
Would that work for you?
Doesn't matter.
Is that too close for you?
What's good for you, because you're the working man.
You're the other one that has a
How do
life.
you guys work? Early at
We're all-
5, you're always available at 5 every day?
Sure. But
That
we
means
should
that I'm hungry at 5.
But we should
No, yeah,
bring snacks.
we can do 6.
Yeah, we could do it later if you want.
Yeah, I would like
If
that.
we didn't, we could do them longer and less of them. I mean, how many did we do last year?
Oh, there's several.
4 or so.
Almost the
more
whole
than that.
month of
So
December.
you're thinking starting
And
at
then
5
till
and going
January,
to
maybe
9?
once.
No,
We'll start at 6.
no, 6 is good.
6 to 9?
So this is good. Luke can eat and Andy can have a shower and changed up and
Hell with that.
get prettied up for
No,
a
dude,
meeting.
take a shower, please. Okay, 6 PM on the 29th.
You're the health officer, aren't you?
29th, yeah, that's right. So we'll have our first meeting November 29th at 6 PM. And I think I heard Terry saying she's gonna put some paperwork together for us. And then we'll have it earlier so we can look it over before we actually go to the meeting. So check your box.
Well,
Check.
she'll have all the stuff ready for us that first night.
Yeah. So we can attack that.
Tuesday? When is that?
They have-
Public concern?
Public concerns, yes ma'am, you're reading my mind. We have a public, Liz, any concerns? Or are you just here for the entertainment about it?
No, actually, I wanted to find out when the site visit was, that's it.
The site visit for
The
this.
garage.
Yeah, we won't know that till we get
We-
there.
I'll try to, well, we can get it on where I can, are you in touch with Bob Stone a lot?
Yes.
So somebody will tell you, somebody will call you, make a personal call.
I have, my personal email is registered with the town.
There you go.
Hey, there we
I'll get in
go.
touch with them.
All right, you get in touch with Mr. Cass then, yes, you'll be our special person.
Yes. Failing, oh wait, any other public concerns? All of our public is covered. Failing any more?
She looked like she
No,
was gonna say something.
I guess we're working on our budget, the
Right.
lister's budget, and I'd like to give you a draft of that. We'll
Excellent.
probably get that done soon, because we've just had the pieces together.
Yeah, sooner rather than later.
Excellent.
Yeah, right, yeah,
Excellent.
next week or so.
Excellent, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Oh, do I have any further discussion? There's none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are done.
6:39.
That's pretty nice.
It's still 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, that was a short